Hello and welcome back to the Hazzabhajan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and today it is time for the continuation of the football alphabet series, and hopefully the last video in this series where I have to combine the clubs and the players into one video, because of course, with it being the letter Q, it is quite difficult for high profile players and high profile clubs to feature, given the dearth of how many people, surnames, and indeed clubs in general, begin with the 17th letter of the alphabet. However, I've done my best and I've got 3 clubs and 2 players lined up for you, and if you've missed any of the episodes thus far, the playlist link is in the description. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe while you're at it. But without any further ado, here is my Hall of Fame of the best clubs and players whose names and surnames, respectively, begin with the letter Q. Club number 1, Karabakh. Although this does speak of the potential lack of quality of teams whose names begin with Q, as unsurprising as that may have been from the outset, FK Qarabağ are a club with an incredible history, so they more than merit the opening spot in this video. Originally formed in 1951 as Mefsul, they achieved second place in the Azerbaijani Championship in 1968, before financial difficulty saw them withdraw from the league straight away, only returning in 1977 as Shafak and then in 1987 as Karabakh. They were based in the region of Akdam, which is near the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, where a conflict has been raging on ever since 1993 as a result of Azerbaijan claiming that they are the rightful owners of that territory, backed up by Syrian and Turkish forces, and Armenia believing it to be correct to let it independently govern itself. This war has affected over 1 million people in some way, be it through displacement, destruction of vital buildings, or casualties, and Karabakh were no exception, and they moved to Baku in 1993 to escape the conflict. Almost immediately after the war was signalled, Karabakh Stadium was severely damaged, and they haven't been able to play there ever since the outbreak of war, leading them to gaining a reputation as the club of refugees. Their coach in the early 1990s, Aliverdi Bagirov, allegedly saved as many as 1,300 lives in the aftermath of the massacre at Khojaly, in which around 600 people were gunned down by Armenian snipers, by transporting them away from the region, although Bagirov himself would sadly later be killed by a landmine. In spite of all of this, as well as financial difficulties around the turn of the century which almost saw them go under, they are one of only 2 teams to have never been relegated from the Azerbaijani league since its creation in 1992 alongside Neftchi. Not only this, but they were the first club from the former Soviet state to win an away game in Europe in 1999, the first to win a European group stage match back in 2014, and the first to participate in the Champions League group stages in the 2017-18 season, finishing last in a tough group alongside Roma, Chelsea and Atletico Madrid, although they did draw twice against the Spanish giants. They've won every domestic league title since 2014, to add to one that they won back in 1993, putting them on 8 in all, level with Neftchi at the top of the trophy tree. Club number 2, Queen's Park Rangers. A club who have changed stadiums no fewer than 13 times since their foundation, Queen's Park Rangers are, as far as I can recall, the second still existing club to feature in this series that do not currently play in their country's top flight league, and there's another one to come after this. Founded in 1882, they were originally called St Jude's, but with most of their players hailing from the Queen's Park district, they decided to change their name in honour of that. Despite turning professional in 1889, they didn't enter the Southern League until 1899, and the Football League wouldn't grant them access either until 1920, where they remained a 3rd Division side until 1967, barring 4 seasons in the 1950s spent in the 2nd Division. It was in 1967, however, when they also won promotion to the 2nd tier, that the club won its only major trophy to date, as they beat West Brom in the final of the League Cup, which was the first in the competition's history to be held at the old Wembley Stadium. Momentum can undoubtedly take you far in football, and within 9 years, the Ars were finishing in 2nd place in the 1st Division behind the all-conquering Liverpool side of the 1970s, which remains their highest ever league position. They remained regulars in the top tier until 1996, during which time they achieved notoriety by replacing the grass on their pitch with artificial turf, keeping it in place from 1981 until 1988. However, from 1996, a decade of financial strife and uncertainty followed, and it was only with the purchase of the club by Bernie Ecclestone and Flavio Briatore in 2007 that their fortunes changed, finally returning to the Premier League in 2011 before being taken over by Malaysian businessman Tony Fernandes that same year. After narrowly escaping relegation in their first season back, they tried to fix their problems by recruiting a number of high-profile players including Julio Cesar, Jose Bosingua, Jisung Park and Christopher Samba, and ending up finishing in last as their collection of stars failed to gel. Ever since, barring 1 season in 2014-15, they have been plying their trade in the Championship, with Les Ferdinand, Adel Taarabt and Rodney Marsh being notable former players. Club number 3, Queen's Park. They're like Queen's Park Rangers but minus the R. Okay, obviously not, since Queen's Park are based in Scotland, but up until recently they were the only amateur side in Scotland's top 4 leagues, only changing their status to professional back in 2019. Formed in 1867, they are the oldest football club in Scotland which currently exists, and they supplied Scotland with all 11 of their players for the first ever international match against England, which ended 0-0. Understandably, they were powerhouses of the early Scottish game, winning the Scottish Cup 10 times between 1874 and 1893, and even finishing as runners-up to Blackburn Rovers twice in the English FA Cup in 1884 and 1885, although since 1893 they haven't won another major trophy. Up until World War II, they only spent one season outside of the Scottish First Division, despite remaining staunchly amateur, but professionalism would finally catch up with them, and they have never returned to Scotland's top flight ever since their relegation in 1958. Furthermore, they've only competed in the Second Division twice since 1977, the year that the Third Division was created, and they currently reside in Scotland's League 2, or what it would have been known back then as the Fourth Division. However, in a stop-start season owing to the coronavirus pandemic, the recently turned professional side sit in first place, although how the season will be structured from here on out is anyone's guess. They've played at the Scottish National Stadium, Hampden Park, ever since its construction in 1903, despite only averaging attendances of around 500 or so when fans could actually attend games, although plans are in place to build a lesser Hampden of 1,774 capacity over the next few years to house the team, which has had the likes of Liverpool's current flying left-back Andy Robertson and legendary former Man United manager Sir Alex Ferguson amongst their playing staff at some stage in their history. That's your lot for the clubs, now let's move on to the players. Player number 1. Ricardo Quaresma. Regrettably, one of the best players whose surname begins with the letter Q is someone who is nothing more than a whole lot of wasted potential and failed stints in Europe's top leagues, but when Ricardo Quaresma burst onto the scene at Sporting Lisbon, he was touted to go right to the very top. Born in 1983, he came through the Sporting Lisbon academy around the same time as Cristiano Ronaldo, and it was even claimed that he had more talent and potential than CR7, and that he was the one who would go on to have the better career. Much like Ronaldo, Quaresma has played for some of Europe's elite clubs, in his case Chelsea, Barcelona and Inter Milan, but unlike Ronaldo, Quaresma has failed at each of them. At Barcelona, he was plagued by injuries and inconsistent form during his only season there in 2003-2004, his time in Italy saw him voted as the worst player of the season during his debut campaign in 2008, and his loan to Chelsea in January 2009 saw him make just 4 appearances in the league. Admittedly, he was a bundle of tricks on the wing, able to continuously bust out skills on a regular basis, and his trademark Trivela shot, a shot with the outside of the foot, came to the fore at the 2018 World Cup, as he scored one of them against Iran in the group stages, one of 10 goals he would score in 80 caps for his country, which included a Euro 2016 winners' medal. However, the only clubs at which he consistently put in star performances were at Porto between 2004 and 2008, Besiktas, especially in his second spell in Istanbul as he helped the club win 2 Super League titles in 2016 and 2017, and Al Ahly in Qatar, although the latter doesn't really count as he was only there for 4 months before being released. He currently finds himself back in his homeland with Vitória Guimarães, but without ever having hit the heights that was predicted of him at such a young age. Player number 2, Niall Quinn. An affable character whose disco pants supposedly go up from his backside to his chest, or so the song goes, Niall Quinn has fulfilled quite a few roles in football, from club chairman to pundit, although he is most famous for his time as a player. Born in 1966, the Irish striker began his career at Arsenal, where his 6'4" frame helped him develop into an effective target man who could bring others into the game with his effective hold-up play, although during 6 seasons in the first team, he would only experience regular game time in one of them, in 1986-87, and his 3 appearances during Arsenal's title-winning 1988-89 campaign weren't enough to earn him a winner's medal. He submitted a transfer request and left for Manchester City in 1990, where he established himself as the focal point of the Blues' attack straight away, scoring 20 goals in his first season at Main Road. His most notable moment was scoring a goal and saving a penalty in the same match against Derby County in 1991, after Tony Cotton, City's goalkeeper, had been sent off and Quinn filled in between the sticks, repelling Derby's spot kick and helping City to win the game 2-1. However, it was at Sunderland, whom he joined in 1996, where he played his best football alongside Kevin Phillips, with whom he formed the classic little and large partnership up top. Together, they scored 194 goals in all competitions across 5 extremely productive seasons, and another one where Sunderland only accrued 19 points across an entire league campaign, with Quinn contributing 64 of them, helping Sunderland win promotion back to the Premier League in 1999 and then finishing 7th in their first top-flight campaign back. He retired during their abysmal 2002-2003 season, and since then he has been Sunderland's chairman, worked as a pundit for Sky Sports, and been the deputy CEO of the Ireland national team, although he stepped down from that particular role in September. That just about wraps up today's video on the football alphabet of clubs and players whose names begin with Q. As I say, if you missed any of the episodes, a playlist link is down in the description, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video straight away. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, see you then.